She denied remembering what his face looked like and said she could see that his head and mouth were covered, but she could not see his eyebrows, and further advised she was not.
She could not see his eyebrows. She could not see his eyebrows. Oh my God. He apparently got some information from ISP today, from the Idaho State Police. I've had my request in. The last time that I sent them my stuff was on July the 31st, because at first when I sent them a request, they told me that saying like any and all blah, 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 blah related to this was too vague of a statement or some shit. So I had to go in and send them a novel, being very, very specific. And I sent it on July 31st. He's not claiming where he got these. I played a little bit of this off camera so that I can try to hear if he says if it was a FOIA response, if it's on the website somewhere, if there's been a website made. I looked on the ISP's website. I typed in Kohberger. I can't see it. And he did not say if it was a FOIA request or not. So we're still finding things out.
Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged.
But I want to start with, this is the narrative, the roommate, Dylan Mortensen. So I'm going to read you detailed Dylan's account of what she told the police when she was first interviewed. This is Dylan when she talked to police. She advised around 4 a.m. or 4:20 a.m. She heard Kaylee singing and playing music. She heard who she believed Kaylee was walking up the stairs, and blank advised she heard Kaylee say, "Someone's here." And she sounded frantic. And they don't name Dylan here, but I've just pieced together that that's who it is. Blank described Kaylee's tone as somewhere between talking and yelling. She believed it was Kaylee who was walking up the stairs with Murphy. She said she heard who she believed to be Kaylee running down the stairs. She advised Murphy was barking.
And Taylor is the one that said that it seemed as if Kaylee would have been what Dylan saw going up the stairs and then seeing somebody upstairs, freaking out, turning around, going back downstairs. And that portion of it started making a lot more sense considering the fact that now we're being told that they were like hanging out in the living room watching Vampire Diaries and stuff, which is on the second floor.
At this time, she does not believe Murphy is normally a barker. She further stated she believed it was Kaylee who was running down the stairs.
She doesn't believe he's normally a barker. He barked his head off for like 45 freaking minutes straight, bro. Neighbors from all kinds of different directions reported hearing him until almost 5 a.m. Or hearing a dog at least that they think is Murphy until 5 a.m.
After she heard her say, "Someone is here." She further explained she does not know if she actually heard this or whether she was drunk and did not actually hear any of this.
See, so she's instantly, "Oh, my poor drunken self." No, you were adding contacts to your phone not 10 minutes before this. So shut up.
She heard the footsteps of who she believed to be Kaylee. She explained all the girls wear Doc Martens and that this is what she believed she was wearing, what she was hearing Kaylee coming down the stairs wearing. Her Doc Martens because of the sound of the footsteps coming down the stairs. Blank.
Interesting.
Called Blank at 4:19 a.m., then Xana at 4:20 a.m., Kaylee at 4:20 a.m., and then Blank again at 4:20 a.m. Blank advised, Blank told her about seeing fireworks. She texted Blank last time at 4:27 a.m. before she went to Blank's room.
So Dylan advised Bethany told her about seeing fireworks. So again, we now have more confirmation that Bethany saw some shit too. Bethany saw some shit that didn't make sense. Bethany heard some shit that didn't make sense. And still collectively, they both decided to just do nothing.
Blank last time at 4:27 a.m. before she went to Blank's room. Blank then explained when she first opened her door and said she did not
see. Yeah, because Maddie had those boots on. I'd have to go back and see if Kaylee had on similar ones. Because I don't remember off the top of my head, but something in my brain is telling me that her shoes were white. Let me look. Yep. Kaylee's shoes were white. You can see right here. So the Doc Martens would have been Maddie if it was actually like a loud sound like that. Yeah, you were right, broskies.
See anyone. The second time when she opened the door, she heard who she believed to be Kaylee crying, and Blank believed Kaylee was in the second floor bathroom. She then heard a male voice, which she stated she had never heard before, say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you."
Keep this in mind because this changes a lot. It changes in this document along with a lot of other things that change literally in this document. But we also have multiple statements here. The PCA was a very vague one-sentence statement. It was something along the lines of, it's okay, I'm going to help you, or it's okay, I'm here to help you, something like that. Then whenever the Moscow police reports came out, the supplementals came out, we then had an additional sentence added to that. You're going to be fine. I'm going to help you, is what we were told in those. So now we have what she just stated here, but just wait, because it changes again very dramatically. Unless she heard this person speak more than once, what she's claiming to have heard changes 3 times, maybe even 4.
Blank believed the unidentified male was in the bathroom and with the person who was crying.
Okay, I'll say what a lot of people have been reminding me of, and I want you guys to put a 1 in the chat if you guys remember this too. Early on within the first like couple of days, around the same time that we heard that Dylan had like opened the door and yelled, "Shut the F up," because she heard like music and singing and like a party going on and rummaging upstairs. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys remember also hearing them stating that they heard water running. I believe it was Dylan that apparently the rumor was that she heard water running. Okay, I questioned in the very, very, very beginning if the drains were swabbed, if the drains were checked. We saw the HVAC guy there for like the vents and stuff like that, but I questioned from the freaking beginning because of the 8-hour delay if like washing machine drains were checked, if the bathroom drain was swabbed, like did they put a snake all the way down there in case they try to pour some chemicals in to get rid of any blood or anything? Like, was all those things checked? So now they're just clarifying here more the bathroom comment. Now, people were always wondering, why is Brett Payne in the PCA in Blaker 2 talking about the bathroom? Like, and I'm like, well, it's just directional. They're trying to give us like an idea, a visual of what it looks like, what the hallway looks like, where the bathroom is, all the things. Now her recollection was that it wasn't noise from inside of Xana's room. It was closer, like the bathroom. And I think back to the water running thing. Molly said somebody in the 3rd floor bathroom, though. And I don't think that Dylan would be hearing it as strongly if it was up there. But that too.
She believed it was Kaylee who was the one crying.
Okay, so before it was that she thought it was Xana that was the one crying in the bathroom. See, why is it that everything with Xana and Kaylee keep getting mixed up? Because it's not just like with this kind of thing, but it was also with Nunez because he's blaming it on Dylan. Like, according to Dylan, whoever was in the 2nd bedroom, the female was Kaylee. And then he fixes it later on. And then you also have to go back and remember that whenever they asked them if there was anyone else in the house, they were like, I don't know. Misinformation on purpose.
Stated that now, sorry, so there's some typos, but Blank stated that now she has gathered additional information and now believes it was probably Xana who was crying. At the moment of hearing the crying, She stated she believed it was Kaylee who was crying. She advised she knows the male's voice was not Ethan's. She described the last episode of Vampire Diaries, and she remembered it was 2 males rescuing a female. She explained it was not violent.
That's every episode.
She advised the male figure in the last episode was wearing all black, but Blank explained that that was normal for the series. Apparently they've been watching that. She's not certain whether...
Oh my God. Is she trying to say that she thought that she was imagining Vampire Diaries episode come to life? And because the guy was wearing all black? Like, is she trying to say that that's where the figure in all black came from? Oh my God. I can't.
She heard Murphy barking during the first time she opened her door, but she advised it was possible he was barking, but Murphy was moving away from the house. She described Murphy was a puppy and...
Moving away from the house, like physically they were moving out, or like the barking was getting like farther and farther away because Murphy was leaving the house. That's an odd statement put together.
Blank had just met him in August. She could not describe Murphy as being skittish. She advised she opened and closed her door a total of 3 times, and the 4th time is when she left her bedroom to go downstairs to Blank's bedroom. Blank advised she continued to call and text her roommates, but received no answer. She provided the time she called and texted her roommates, and the time span she advised would have been between 4:20 a.m. and 4:27 a.m. She advised she never thought about an intruder, and in her mind, she stated she was not processing what was occurring as threatening.
That's a lie, because she apparently grabbed her taser. So what you grabbing your taser for if you're not threatened? What are you telling Bethany in a text message that you're freaking out because you saw someone in all black and you're freaking out, but you're not in fear of anything? You're lying. One of those is true. The other one is a lie.
Not processing it as threatening. She advised she believed the male was directing his conversation of who she believed was Kaylee. She advised she did not believe the male was directing that statement to
That's
her.
a good one.
In discussing why the defender did not harm her, it was discussed that it was possible the male knew her and wanted to protect her. And she said she understood that that was possible, but
in her interview, she said it's possible whoever killed everyone in my house knew me and wanted to protect me. She said this shit. Oh my God. What? It's possible that they knew who I was and that's why my life was spared. What? Oh my God.
she denied knowing who the suspect was. Blank further explained she
Me too,
Snapchatted Ethan but
Max.
received no answer from Ethan. Blank thought Ethan was still either at Blank Chi, Sigma Chi, or was at home. She was not certain.
Okay, so you're telling me that almost 4 o'clock in the morning, you're not sure if Ethan and Xana are home yet. I'm sorry. That is not what we've been being told the entire time. Especially since we have in other reports that she's claiming that she saw Xana on the freaking ground, on the floor, as she's going to Bethany's room.
The first time Blank opened the door, she said her vision was blurry or fuzzy, but she advised she saw a figure of someone that was dressed in all black and they were masked and he was holding an item of what she initially perceived was a vacuum, but she said that did not make sense to her. She described the suspect as not being muscular, but being skinny and toned like a basketball player. She further described him as being taller than 5'10" frame by at least 3 inches. He would have been 6 feet in height. She advised he had to have heard her call Kaylee and Xana, and she thought he would have had to have heard her calling for them, and she was confused as to why he did not come to her room.
Okay, so now she is admitting that she called out physically for Kaylee and Xana with her voice, yelled out of the door, and whoever was in there would have heard that, and she still was untouched.
She described the item the suspect was holding, which was advised was like a cylinder, as she remembered a cop talking about how a bow. She was trying to ascertain if what she saw was in fact shaped like a bow. Further,
a cylinder? So now she's saying that this guy might have had a bow and arrow cylinder that would go over the shoulder. That's new. That's new.
Stated she thought that maybe it was a firefighter because of what Blank told her about seeing a firecracker. She advised he would have been approximately 3, interesting the firecracker thing, by the way, 3 feet away from her, and she believed she saw him walking out the back sliding glass door. He had looked at her before walking out the back door. She was not certain if he could see her whole body.
See, and that's another thing. They have tried to pretend since the very beginning that they didn't know for sure which way the person left, that Dylan just saw the person walking towards the kitchen, but that they didn't know exactly if the person went out the back door or not. And all of the reports that we've been getting here lately is her physically saying, I watched him walk out of the back door. So why didn't they just tell us that to begin with? The playing stupid and acting like you don't know whenever you do know and you still can't connect it even though you do know these things. Make it make sense, man.
Body or just her head. At 4:22 a.m., then Blank corrected her time and stated actually 4:23 a.m. She advised she texted Blank and they conversed about someone wearing all black, and Blank said something to the effect of, what the F, why is Xana wearing all black? Blank explained she was not certain if she had been dreaming.
What do you mean, what the F? Why is Xana wearing all black? Xana was wearing all black in the photo that was taken of everyone at the Whites. The photo of everybody that everyone has been like using for everything. She's wearing all black there. What do you mean? Why would she be wearing all black?
I've been thinking about some other things that we've heard in the past, especially when it comes to Molly, the DoorDash driver. And given the fact that the book, which is again full of crap, the Patterson book, it does have something interesting in it if the interview done with the 2 people at the university that ran the paper is an honest recollection of what they said. They mentioned how substances and Emma Bailey's name was being mentioned in the University of Idaho's Yik Yak really early on in the conversation, like within hours of the vandal alerts. This was the conversation on student social media. Then we go back to Molly, the DoorDash driver, claiming that she was parked in the area for all this time because she couldn't find the house and all this other bullshit that she tried to say, while also claiming that she sat in front of the house that she was supposed to deliver the food to, even though she didn't realize it was the right house, while she watched someone pop up and down and in and out of view in the bathroom window on the 3rd story. So if they're like, oh my God, why is Xana wearing all black? Could it be because somebody with long brown hair was seen wearing all black walking around the house? Could it be that maybe there was a female in all black with long brown hair that didn't belong there, that was walking around, that maybe had them asking this question? Because we've been wondering since the 911 call and the text messages were released between Bethany and Dylan, why just randomly they mention Xana possibly wearing all black, because that was part of the original information that we got. So if we think back to everything all together, it sort of makes it a possibility, especially since we know that Xana was found in her underwear in a long sleeve sweater. So there's that.
It's just weird that you would say that when you literally were around her for hours dressed that way.
Real. Blank explained she saw the suspect holding something she believed to be cylinder-shaped and also shaped like a triangle at the bottom of the shape. She advised the suspect was approximately 3 feet away from her, and he looked at her but was walking out the sliding door when she saw him. She said she saw.
So she didn't see him in the hallway. She saw him as he was going out the door, is what she's trying to say. And the cylinder had a triangle at the bottom of it.
This is getting so weird.
Saw his eyebrows. At approximately.
Oh, this is where the eyebrows get mentioned in the ISP report.
4:23 a.m. She texted.
Right, 3 feet is really close. So how are you going to sit there and say that you didn't even see him until he walked out the slider, but that you saw him like 3 feet away from you? That don't compute, broskies.
She saw a masked suspect in their house. Blank responded at approximately 4:25 a.m., telling her to come to her blank bedroom and that it's better than being alone. Blank then left her bedroom after opening the door the 4th time and ran to Blank's bedroom downstairs. Blank advised when she left her bedroom, she looked down the hallway to Xana's bedroom and she could see Xana lying on her back in her underwear, but she thought at that time Xana was passed out. Blank stated she never went to Xana's bedroom and she could only see Xana from the hallway as she was running to get to Blank's bedroom, Bethany's bedroom. She advised she was too scared to go into Xana's bedroom and she knew Blank was awake and she knew to go there because she was scared. She saw Xana was wearing her underwear and she explained Xana was comfortable enough with the roommates that she would wear her underwear around them, so this was not unusual. When asked about the lighting conditions inside the residence, she advised that possibly Xana's light was on or the party lights were on, and that is how she was able to see Xana, because otherwise she would not have been able to see her lying on the floor without any lights being on. She was not certain if the bathroom lights were on, but she was not certain what lights were on, if any. She advised Xana did not say anything. Blank stated she did not think anything was wrong, so still didn't think anything was wrong.
So she didn't think that anything was wrong, but she was too scared to go to Xana's room. I'm sorry, but it cannot be both. And the fact that Bryan Inton is just sitting here reading this and not asking the common sense questions tells me literally everything that I need to know about this man. And honestly, I've known it already for a while.
She later offered she may have been able to see Xana lying on the floor because they also had a Sensi light, and it could have been she was able to see Xana from the Sensi light.
Those are not very bright. Those are really, 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 really dim.
She explained she's been trying to determine what was real from everything that she had been talking about with Sergeant Blaker and myself. She advised she knew at the time with Blank, Kaylee, and Maddie were real because she has seen the video of them together. So there's video. She was not certain how Blank got home that day. She further explained she'd been trying to piece things together because some things do not make sense to her. She stated that she is being truthful, but some of what she's been discussing, she was able to see Xana from the Sensi light. She explained she's been trying to determine what was real from everything that she had been talking about with Sergeant Blaker and myself. She advised she knew at the time with Blank, Kaylee, and Maddie were real because she has seen the video of them together. So there's video. She was not certain how Blank got home that day. She further explained she'd been trying to piece things together because some things do not make sense to her. She stated that she is being truthful, but some of what she's been discussing, she's not certain is factual. She has been working through it, trying to remember what happened. Blank was asked if the female who was crying was saying anything, and she advised no, the female was only crying and the male was the only one talking. She described the item the suspect was holding as cylinder-shaped and was also triangular-shaped. She could not remember if the lights were on or off when she encountered the male suspect. She advised she does not know if this is even something she saw or it was something she dreamed. She advised the last time she saw Xana was at Blank House at approximately 11:04 p.m.
She was wearing all black.
By checking her cell phone. Xana had been holding a white claw. She was at Blank at 12:49 a.m. That part I don't really understand.
Well, Inton, it's a good thing that we here on this channel know exactly what they're talking about. Sometime that morning, that Saturday morning, Xana was texting all of her friends to get to King Road. They said that she was like frantically texting them, but it was more like excitement texting them because everyone was getting together to hang out. They all showed up at 1122 King Road, and then they didn't stay for long. They instantly went over to the Whites. That's where they were hanging out. That's where the infamous photo was taken. We've heard about this little party that they had over there for a while. It's everything that happened after the party that has been misconstrued, that has been told 25,000 different ways to Sunday. But for this situation, they were over at the Whites. They were hanging out. They were day drinking their little White Claws and whatever else they were doing before they dispersed for the night.
She further advised Xana and Ethan did not stay at Ethan's house with any frequency because of Ethan's grades. He could not reside at the fraternity. He had his own apartment, but she does not know where his apartment is because she had never been there. She knows.
That's one of the questions that I had too, because apparently his parents, well, really it says more like his dad, paid for him to have an apartment in Moscow, but I don't know where it was. They said basically that they knew that he was going to be over at Xana's all the time, but that he did have like a paid for apartment somewhere in town.
Kaylee and Maddie were home when she went to bed, and blank and from when she saw Xana lying on the floor, but she's not certain about whether Ethan was home.
What?
She further advised Xana and Ethan did not stay at Ethan's house with any frequency because of Ethan's grades. He could not reside at the fraternity. He had his own apartment, but she does not know where his apartment is because she had never been there. She knows Kaylee and Maddie were home when she went to bed, and blank and from when she saw Xana lying on the floor, but she's not certain about whether Ethan was home.
It really is making it seem as if they had no idea really like what time Xana and Ethan got home literally at all. That's what they're trying to say anyway. But everything with the timeline for them doesn't add up either, because even in the Amazon series that's based on what the frat bros were saying and what the Chapins were claiming and all these other things, they're still putting them leaving the frat house at 1:40, which gets them walking to King Road and getting there at about 1:45. But that still doesn't add up because of what Hippler says at around 2:10, how they weren't home yet, according to the story about them apparently talking about going to get food up in Kaylee's room. So none of this is adding up.
Stated she is certain at 3:11 a.m. Kaylee, Maddie, and she were all in the house. She was not certain about Xana and Ethan because she does not know when they came home. She did not.
So by 3:11, okay, what's so special about 3:11? Now, we know that Bethany said that her and Maddie are the ones that took Murphy out, and at 2:30, Maddie came down to her bedroom and asked if she saw Murphy because they didn't know where he was. So what's so significant about 3:11? So you're telling me that still after 3 o'clock, you still have no freaking clue if Xana's in the house or not? But y'all were all up watching TV on the second floor watching Vampire Diaries. So if they came home, you would know. They would have had to have like walked right by you.
Perceiving a threat even after encountering the male in the hallway. So she denied perceiving a threat even after encountering the male in the hallway.
But remember, she just said she was too scared to go into Xana's room or even down the hallway towards Xana's room. And there's also reports from the MPD supplementals that were released that she grabbed her taser. So again, you were too scared to go to Xana's room. You grabbed a taser. You were freaking out, frantically trying to get a hold of everyone that lived in that house, frantically trying to get answers, calling people's names out of your own face, yelling their names to try to get their attention, but you didn't perceive a threat? What? How can you sit there, Bryan Inton, and not be asking all these questions? I will say again, how can you sit here and read this 180'd, flip-flopped, discombobulated ass contradictorial freaking report and not ask questions? Ass kissing, bro. That's all this is.
See, again, did you encounter him in the hallway or did you not see him until you watched him walk out the back slider? And this is all the same report, as far as I can tell. Like, it's just repeating sort of like over and over again, because in these interviews, they're like re-asking the questions in different ways to see if they're going to get the same answers. So it's going to repeat a lot of stuff.
She denied remembering what his face looked like and said she could see that his head and mouth were covered, but she could not see his eyebrows, and further advised she was not.
She could not see his eyebrows. She could not see his eyebrows. Oh my God. What? 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 She could not see his eyebrows? Let me pull up every single document that has a reference to freaking bushy eyebrows in this case. What? Oh, wow.
Certain she could see his nose. When asked, and she couldn't see, it says there she couldn't see his eyebrows. When asked if she knew what balaclava was, she said no. So I asked Sergeant Blaker to show her a picture of a balaclava from his cell phone. And upon looking at the picture of a balaclava, she stated that could have been it. Seeing his mouth or nose, but she could see his eyebrows.
So she goes from saying she did not see his eyebrows to then being shown a picture of a certain kind of mask on Sergeant Blaker's phone to now stating she did see his eyebrows. Y'all saw how that all took place within like 30 seconds, right? This right here is the reason why just Brian Enton, just News Nation having these documents is not okay. As of the time that I am editing this clip from last night's live, it is around 12:30 p.m. on August the 15th. I have not seen anyone else claiming to have received these. I myself still have my FOIA in progress. I have emailed ISP and said that it has become clear that documents are starting to be released. And I mentioned how an affiliate with News Nation, Brian Enton, claims to have received 600 or so documents. So I'm just really curious as to what the timeline is for everyone else because, you know, again, News Nation seems to be the only ones with these. I could be mistaken, but I've looked around. I've looked all over the place. They're the only ones claiming to have these. If anyone else actually is showing full-on documents and not just doing what we're doing here and talking about what they're talking about, please let me know down in the comments.
When asked if any of her roommates told her about prior incidents involving anything that concerned them, she advised Kaylee had told them blank and the other roommates about an incident a month prior when she was outside with Murphy about a subject who had been watching her. The subject was in the apartment above the girl's residence. Blank further explained that 2 to 3 weeks ago, while at Winco, Kaylee told her about a male.
One more time.
She advised Kaylee had told them blank and the other roommates about an incident a month prior when she was outside with Murphy about a subject who had been watching her. The subject was in the apartment above the girl's residence. Blank further.
I know that they mentioned a tree line when it comes to somebody watching Kaylee, but they also mentioned that she had been complaining about somebody watching her and like doing stuff like that since May, which was right before she moved into King Road. So there's that too.
Explained that 2 to 3 weeks ago, while at Winco, Kaylee told her about a male subject who followed her from the Winco store, all the way to Kaylee's car, even when Kaylee went to leave, the subject was standing by Kaylee's car. We've heard about that incident before. Also,
yeah, we did.
Also, 2 to 3 weeks ago, all of the roommates went to Starbucks together, and when they got home, their front door was wide open, and they do not believe it had been open when they left. She explained there were prior issues with the front door, so she said it was possible the door opened because there had been a snowstorm, and she explained possibly the wind caused the door to open. Also, when they got home, the washer was going, which she described was not unusual, but this also concerned her. She explained because of these things, they went to get Ethan's golf clubs to protect themselves when they searched the house.
Okay, let me digest this for a second. So in one of the reports, they said something about how they got home one day and the door was wide open and it was like the wind was blowing the door so hard that it was like basically making it come off the hinges a little bit and the hinges had to be tightened up. Right? So we also know that the pin code on that door was crap. Like sometimes it locked, sometimes it didn't. But we also know that there was no lock on the back slider, that there was a way that you could like do a certain thing and the damn thing would just like come right open. But it's really freaking weird if you're going to say, yeah, everyone was gone, but we came home and the front door was wide open and the washing machine was going. So what happened to the clothes that was in the washer? Did you take them out and throw them away because they belonged to a stranger? Or why are we mentioning the washing machine during this incident? Because that's weird. Because I'm pretty sure eventually you would have gotten home and looked at the clothes that was in the washing machine, yeah? And seen whether they belonged to somebody that lived with you or not. And if they didn't, then why didn't you call the police and be like, some weirdo came into my house whenever I was gone, broke my door open and started washing their nasty ass clothes in my washing machine, and I don't know who they belong to, I'm going to call the cops. Like, am I wrong in thinking that? Like, that sounds like an unfinished story. It was a little bit confusing.
Blank explained weeks prior to the 13th, Kaylee told the roommate she heard a woman scream, but no one else heard it. Blank was asked if she was telling either Sergeant Baker or I anything to prevent us from solving this, and she advised no, that she understood my question, and she advised that she knew she did not sleep through the whole incident because she has texted communications and other things, and she knows that they would have required her to be awake. She advised she...
So she's sitting there telling the freaking ISP officer, I know for a fact that I wasn't asleep through anything. But then she's telling Steve Goncalves, I was asleep. I didn't hear or see anything. Bro.
Knows what she heard, especially about hearing who she believes was Kaylee crying and the male voice telling her that he was there for her. Interesting.
There for her? See, that's a whole nother level to say, I'm here for you. It's okay. I'm here for you is different than I'm going to help you. So maybe it's just the way that it's being like reinterpreted.
She stated again, she does not know how much of what she has been telling us was not factual because she's still processing the events. When asked why she believes she was spared after the male suspects saw her, she said she does not know why, and she does not believe anyone ever tried to open the door during the time he was in the house, and he could have easily have done so. And why would he have passed by her room multiple times? She volunteered that to come through the sliding glass door, the person would have had to have scaled a tall wall. She advised the suspect would.
What did she just say?
He was in the house, and he could have easily have done so. And why would he have passed by her room multiple times? She volunteered that to come through the sliding glass door, the person would have had to have scaled a tall wall. She advised the suspect would have known her room would have been occupied.
For someone to come through the slider, they would have had to have scaled a wall. Hold on, one more time, because what?
She volunteered that to come through the sliding glass door, the person would have had to have scaled a tall wall. She advised.
Is she talking about the slider on the 3rd floor that leads out of Kaylee's room and not the back slider? Because you do not have to scale a tall wall to go in through the back freaking slider through the kitchen. You would only have to scale a wall if you were coming in through the slider that leads out to the balcony on the 3rd floor. This is blowing my mind. How ridiculous this is. Like, I'm sorry, what? The
suspect would have known her room would have been occupied because he appeared to have known the layout of the house. She also said it could have been someone who was in the house last year when the other girls were living in the house. She advised there was no one she knows who could have wanted to hurt the girls, and the girls were loved by everyone. She said she had never heard rumors which were negative about any of the victims. When asked about Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, advised the breakup was mutual and they have their dog Murphy in common. And then she brought up some other names. She offered her DNA. She advised it might be difficult to locate the offender's DNA because they had conducted a deep clean of their residence leading up to the parents' weekend. Let's see.
What? No, actually, honey baby, that would be the opposite. Oh, that was her setting up the story. Duh, Jules. That's her setting up the story. She just sat here and said, oh, it might be kind of difficult to find the perpetrator's DNA because we deep cleaned the house for Parents' Weekend. Well, Parents' Weekend was the weekend before this. The Parents' Weekend that was going on the weekend that this all happened was WSU's Parent Weekend. So them deep cleaning the house for Parents' Weekend 7 days before this, or a week and a half or so before this incident, would have actually made it a lot more easy to decipher what DNA needs to be tested or not. So if they really did deep clean the house, which I feel like that's a freaking lie, right before Parents' Weekend, then why is there still unknown male DNA, which is blood, on the handrail of the stairs that lead up to the 2nd floor, if that's the case? And we also need to remember something here. Ann Taylor had placed a document in the public documentation to the court that they had indirect evidence of a cleanup during that 8-hour time frame, meaning that scientific things would have had to have been done in order to determine the age of certain chemicals being maybe sitting around on certain places or certain things like that. So for her to sit here and be like, oh, we deep cleaned the house, so it would be more difficult. No, it wouldn't. It would make it easier because there'd be less trash to sift through. That was you setting up your bullshit. That's all that I'm going to freaking hear from that.
When asked if she could able to provide a description of to a police artist, like a sketch artist, she said she would not be able to describe enough of the suspect to be helpful. She further advised the only thing she remembered about his face was his eyebrows were bushy. So that's where the bushy eyebrow.
She just said that she didn't see his eyebrows. So in this exact same document, it goes from, I could not see this person's eyebrows to now his eyebrows were bushy. All of this in the same report. And he's not stopping and being like, oh, wait a minute. She just said she didn't see them not 5 minutes ago. How? Oh, so bad.
House came from. She advises she was confused about why the offender would have taken the patio door out of the residence because of the drop off from the patio.
See, again, she's saying stuff about the back slider that don't make any sense. The back slider was constantly used by everyone. So what do you mean? The drop off from the patio. This and what she previously stated sounds more like the actual balcony on the 3rd floor. Because everything else that she has said about that sliding door doesn't make a lick of freaking sense.
Cars do come by their residence a lot, and she said there was a black truck.
Bro, I'm
driving-
getting mad, Heather. How is Brent into not stopping and being like, hold on, let me grab this other page? Chick literally just said 5 minutes ago she didn't see his eyebrows. Now she's telling me that they're bushy. She doesn't even know. How can you not stop and ask these questions, bro?
Past the window, and she further said she was
No.
not absolutely certain that it was a black
I'm
truck,
over it.
and apparently was confused.
Black truck? You mean the black freaking truck that Enon Harsh talked about? We literally were just talking about him.
Cars do come by their residence a lot, and she said there was a black truck driving past the window, and she further said she was not absolutely certain that it was a black truck, and apparently was confused.
You weren't certain if it was a black truck and apparently was confused. Well, I know that in the footage that they've shown us so far from 11:12, we haven't seen a black truck, but I think the footage also stops at like 4:22, maybe 4:23. But it's supposed to be like a whole lot longer. I want all of it. I want like the whole freaking thing. I want it from like 24 before, 24 after, 12 before, 12 after. I'll take that too. But I'm really like a rule of mine is 24 before and 24 after is sort of like the base information that I try to get concreted down as close as possible, because to me that's like the most important time frame. Damn. And Enon Harsh mentions a black freaking truck.
When asked what occurred after she went to Blank's bedroom, she said they eventually fell asleep. She advised a friend of theirs was planning a memorial event, and that's helped her emotionally because at this point she's obviously dealing with everything.
So the memorial event was closer to the end of November, the first one, I think. Now the other one was like the day that his arrest was announced, I believe. The timing was interesting.
When she awakened that morning, Blank was next to her in bed. We know that was Bethany. They were both too scared to leave the room to even go to the bathroom.
Too scared to go take a piss, but you perceived no fear and thought that you were just dreaming. It can't be both.
We've also been told that Murphy was outside barking until almost 5 o'clock in the morning before it abruptly stops, meaning that somebody alive and able to move around in that house had to have let the damn dog back inside. So no, not even then did their story add up, because again, the cops tested the sound, proved the dog was outside, and the neighbors said they heard the dog barking outside until almost 5 o'clock in the morning. No. Just that one little detail alone should be enough for people to understand how big of a lie is being told.
How are the ISP officers, interrogators, and the feds looking at these two morons and being like, do I look like I was born yesterday? What the frick do you actually mean? Why is it every single time something comes out, it's different?
10:23 a.m. said she texted Maddie. We knew about these text messages. Then explained when she reached out to Blank in the text message, which Blank told her it was 10:50 a.m., but she thinks Blank was mistaken, told her she would send to their house. Sorry, there's a lot redacted here. It's hard to understand. She advised they stayed in the house when the police arrived, and the police were putting the tape up. Then they realized.
Liar. Liar. You were outside before the people that you lured over and summoned even got there. You were outside with your hands covering your mouth as Hunter Johnson walked past you, and then you followed him back up the stairs. You were not in the house until the police arrived. You were outside. Why are you lying?
Realized there had been a crime, and when they saw the ambulance arrive and leave, Blank told them they would not leave unless there was no reason to stay. She then advised said the vandal alert came out, and that's when they realized that their friends were actually gone.
That's not true. That's whenever the friends that were summoned over knew what was going on. But Dylan and Bethany were in the freaking house walking around with Hunter, at least to Xana's room. And then again, you hear Dylan mention Kaylee's freaking name on the 911 call. Pretty sure she says something about poor Kaylee. I'm so sick and tired of everything changing.
When asked if she checked the house for anyone else when she initially came home that night with Blank and she was asked if she had to unlock the front door, and she advised she believed she had to unlock the front door to get into the residence. She advised when she first got home, she remembered the sliding door was closed, but she did not know if it was locked. She advised when she first got home, she went to Kaylee's bedroom to let Murphy out of Kaylee's room, and Kaylee's lights were on and no one in Kaylee's room. Murphy came back into the house after going outside. When she first got home, she went to Kaylee's bedroom to let Murphy out of Kaylee's room, and Kaylee's lights were on and no one was in Kaylee's room. Murphy came back into the house after going outside.
So Dylan had let the dog out before Kaylee got home and then let him back in. And then at 2:30 or between 2 and 2:30, Maddie and Bethany then took him outside.
Okay, that's it for this one. Now, again, it's closer to 2 p.m. now on August the 15th. I have still not seen anyone else claiming that they have these actual documents except for Bryan Inton and News Nation. This does not do this case any service when we have one entity coming out with the information, interpreting it, and giving it out the way that they choose to instead of in its entirety. He's also sitting here reviewing completely contradictorial statements and not even acknowledging the fact that it's happening. That is not true journalism. That is not true reporting. I don't claim to be a journalist or any sort of reporter. I claim to be somebody who wants to read through the factual information that is attached to this case and ask questions that need to be asked. So I ask you, Mr. Inton, why are you sitting here reading this like everything in it makes perfect sense? Why are you not asking the obvious questions? Are you afraid that if you start asking the real questions, you're going to lose all of the little connections that you have? That says a lot, doesn't it? I just find it so absolutely disgusting that there is so much back and forth in this, and people are going to read this, they're going to hear this, and they're going to hear all of the wrong things. They're not going to ask any actual factual questions. Now, there's a portion, like we've mentioned, where apparently Kaylee's name was stated. So whatever Dylan is claiming the male in the house said has changed 3 or 4 different times at this point. And now in this document she's claiming, the person says, "It's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you." Something along those lines. I ask you a very, very common sense question. Do y'all not think that if the perpetrator would have said one of the victim's actual names, that wouldn't have come out in court already? Don't you think that if this person was saying the names of the victims, that a connection would have been found to prove that there is a way to know that for a fact? Probably because it's not true is the reason why it never came out. This is a wild take. And we also don't know for sure what was said because this is somebody else's recollection. And you see how the statements in this one report flip-flop. They go from one end to the other and then back and forth all over again, and nothing stays consistent. So the fact that the couple of mainstream channels that are reiterating what they're hearing Bryan Inton reading keep only focusing on that is pretty interesting to me, because there's a million more things in this report that I deem factually important. The stuff that's being said about there being a tall wall that would have to be basically climbed up in order to use a sliding door, when that's not the case when it comes to the second floor slider that you take from the kitchen to walk out into the back area. That's not the case. That patio also does not have some sort of crazy drop off. That to me sounds like the balcony on the 3rd floor. So again, him reading the reports the way that he's reading the reports and not putting it up on the screen, not showing us exactly verbatim what it says, that's not doing any justice to this case. So once I have the documents or someone comes out with the documents, then they'll be on the screen for us to read verbatim. But until then, let me know what you guys are thinking about this so far down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.